All right, I see that this is Tech Spotlight on February 3rd, 2021. And we got Peter Phaiah with us to talk to us today. And Peter, I'm recording you because we not only get the enjoyment of talking with you on the video, but we also then have it on our website so people can hit it. So I'm glad that you're here. We hope to get some more participants as time goes on. But we're glad to have you. And please give us an introduction about yourself that isn't just so polished, I guess. Just be happy.
Okay, very good. Actually, I completed my third year here at Tech in November.
Yeah.
And I was originally hired as the Title IX coordinator and the assistant vice president of student life. And so that was my role. But because I've done dean of students and vice chancellors at other universities, once I got Title IX and a nice cruise control operations, I was asked to help out with a few other things. And then about a year ago, in about a week or so, the vice president of student life had retired, and they asked me to step in as an acting person. So for the last year, I've been acting as a vice president. And
Oh, you've been a vice president, even if you're just acting. Okay.
That's
You've
right.
been busy.
Yes. And so I'm serving the role of the acting vice president, as well as doing the dean of students and those type of things. So for those of you who haven't been at college and university before, the dean of students is kind of like the principal and handles the non-academic things, anything related to housing, food service, any issues with complaints, concerns, grievances, any type of student conduct issues. We work with academic affairs with academic support, but as well as student support services. And so we also work with clubs and organizations. So some of the people here online have worked with my office before. They've worked with them in different areas. The dean of students hat, when I wear it, helps out with if students miss some classes because of an illness, death in the family, hospitalization, get incarcerated, whatever be the reason, my office helps work with them in their academic careers. I reach out to the instructors. We disclose as much as needed, but basically keeping confidentiality on certain things. I help validate that. So if Sarah had a death in the family, I would be the person to work with her and then get any type of verification rather than every faculty member asking for a death certificate. That's not the role. She doesn't need that type of headaches right now and trauma. So I do that. If students are having other issues, I basically pull in all the resources of student affairs, student life, auxiliary services, and provide support and help the student be successful as they navigate. As they become more confident in how the things work at Tech, then they're on their own a little bit more. And we help support the peer mentors. We help support the resident advisors to make sure they are now good peer-to-peer type of relationships. So in a nutshell, that's kind of what my office does. And hopefully soon we'll get another vice president so I can go back and do my other job. So,
well, yeah, I was getting, before you got on, I said short order cooks have less problems than you do because they're used to just reacting to everything pretty fast, but you've got a number of hats. And yes, the peer mentor program has been involved with you in a number of things just to be a good listening post in some ways, to chat with you, and you're our listening post. And also, if there are needs that we identify, we can, like oftentimes with the services your office provides. So we're glad to have you here. I'm gonna throw you into something crazy. How's that? Just because it's fun to do. You're very big up in academics and everything, but Peter lives down the street from me, and he tends to have about every tool that you might know to the mental capacity of humanity. So why do you have all those tools, Peter? Why are you so busy with all that?
it's my relief. It's kind of embarrassing. I went to college, got a degree, went and got my master's, and I wasn't the greatest at fixing cars and doing other things. So I really worked with a lot of my friends during vacations and time. So I wanted to be somewhat intelligent if it came to changing out brakes on a car, tuning up a car. And then eventually I started doing things on helping friends put roofs on. I know where I grew up, in my town, a lot of people stayed in town, some went off to college, but the deal was that I help you clear a lot. You help me put a roof on my house. I help
Mhm.
you do something. And then eventually when it's time for me to build a house or do something, everyone shifts over. So you learn a lot of different trades on the
Sure.
side. And I thought that was pretty cool. And so I eventually started trying to be as knowledgeable as I could, but I started getting more into the repairing, building, um, out of necessity. And as you know, the internet is a great thing.
Oh yeah.
Um, at my last job, I lived in Minnesota and I built a deep winter greenhouse.
Oh
Okay.
my
And
golly.
this was a large greenhouse. It had a storage area. It had controlled vents. It was great in the winter. It had a heating system. It had panels. I mean, it was unbelievable. And I just read it on the internet, and I that was my release and hobby. And so I started doing those things, and eventually, as my kids grew up, every time Christmas or birthday came around, I got a tool. I mean, I got ties first, and then when I had every tie, then I started getting tools.
You had
And then
enough
my
color
wife,
choices, then you
yeah,
were okay. Yeah.
then my wife
Yeah.
strategically was giving me tools with a hint. Okay, here's something. Now go build it for me.
And
And
here's the
so,
plan.
Hey, the
Here's
plumbing's
the
broken. Go fix it for us, please.
oh,
Yeah.
exactly. I mean, happy wife, happy life. I mean, no matter which way it goes. And
Mhm.
Smart man.
so I'm
Okay.
intelligent enough to know how to please my wife and keep her happy.
Okay. Well,
So yeah,
it
recently
does
I
sound
built
like this leans into where you are with helping people though too.
yeah.
You help people, they help you. It is a kind of a in some ways a good mental state, I think, for us. It's a place where in the jobs you do and some of the jobs I do here at the library, it's a great place to be, let's say, approachable.
Hmm. Yeah, it
You
is.
know,
I
and
mean, if you
and
come
I would think that's a big part of your jobs, that you're approachable.
yeah, if you come to think about it, um, I've never left college. Once I went to college, I've been here in college. Okay. First as a student and then moving on. And then I was a tenured faculty member. My vocation is in sports medicine, exercise physiology, motor learning. And at a university, everything you need is here. And it's a great place to raise kids. Um, being around these young college students keep you vibrant, keep you moving and exciting and challenged because if they need something, well, we need to show them how to fish. And therefore, they're self-sustaining. If they have great ideas, if Tori has some suggestion or idea, good idea. Instead of me doing it for her, I'm going to show her how to do it and eventually do that. She wants to start a club or organization. She would like to do something. And that's where entrepreneurism come in. And so that's what I love about my job.
Cool. So talk to us about clubs, because we don't always get to talk about clubs, I think. And for students right now, clubs are kind of a little stretched with the online experience, but clubs are big here on campus.
Yeah, I mean, a big part of college life is engaging and engaging with people in your major, people of common interest, or things you never thought you would even be into. And so you can dabble with it and you really get to meet different people. Or while you're doing it, that cross pollination, you're an EE student with a mechanical engineering student and someone else who's in another area. You come together in clubs and organizations and you start leveraging everyone's knowledges, resources, and skills and desires, and you
Uh-huh.
can put it together and parlay it to just about anything. And that's the beauty of clubs. And I think clubs are also a great opportunity to learn about, I mean, in student affairs and student life, we use clubs as a way of enrichment, growth and development. If you
Mhm.
become an officer, you learn about leadership. Well, you
Mhm.
also realize that about 5% of people do all the work. And so, how to turn around and motivate or encourage other people to assist rather than everything being dumped on you. So,
Mhm.
it's a great learning area before you go out to real world and then you're in a Kiwanis club, a Lions club, or something like that. And because you have a little interest, people expect you to do all the work. Well, how do you motivate others?
Oh yeah. And I've been a part of those service clubs, for professionals and things.
Yeah.
And yeah, you join and all of a sudden you realize you're doing seven things.
Yes.
But it's a great interaction. There's no question.
Mhm.
We were just talking on peer mentors today. about getting T Club working. Okay. Now, Tea Club's a great club. I mean, I love it, with the tea, you get to drink and, stuff like that. But I tell you what, online tea club is just an interesting concept to me, considering that, tea's about smell and about taste and about different things that are making tea and viscosity and all this stuff. And I'm just amazed that they're trying to figure out ways to do both online and maybe have some tea somewhere on campus that's safely able to be served. So they're working at it even the online time.
Yeah, and I think it's something that's pretty amazing. Whereas I've been trying to work with student government to work with the clubs to say, hey, it really bites to be involved in COVID and all this stuff going on. How do you turn this and leverage it and be creative and still have that engagement? How can you possibly have a club that does tea to do this? Or I've been trying to work with the ballroom dance group. They so
Those
much
people are
want to,
cool.
yeah, they so much want to get involved, but you can't really get that close. So we really work strategically to say, hey, if we're in phase, for yellow, green, or red, how you can turn around and have things. I said, hey, well, what are other people doing? Can you watch a video to learn steps to a dance? Could you shadow dance? What are all the creative ways that people have used in the past, as well as new creative things? Can you use virtual reality? So Sarah and I are going to dance together with VR, and so there's so many cool things if you really think about it. But tech students are pretty busy, so who has the time? How can you be creative? But I think there are cool ways to do things. And I was even trying to get various clubs and organizations to find great ways of having interactions and share that with us, so we can then share with other clubs, so they can take best practices to have meetings, to have engagements, get-togethers.
And order pizza.
So those are all things that we're looking at.
Order pizza. I heard order pizza.
Order pizza.
Sorry, I thought I was muted.
Yeah. Well, the trick is, if we are virtually having a meeting, how do we get pizza delivered to each person?
Well, see, now there's the point. Yeah.
And their tea. Don't forget tea.
Yeah.
Oh.
And get all the stuff. Hello, Richard. Richard's up in the honors college up at UNM. That's Sarah's spouse. And every so often we hear things, and so we have to enjoy.
I've got to talk to HR about my coworker.
Yeah.
There's another one too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, Liz.
Yeah.
Oh, now this is Hamilton.
Papageno.
Oh, Papageno. Papageno. I mean, cat club. How are you going to deal with cats? Okay. I mean,
Yeah.
I see a lot of people that talk when the dogs are out on the grass. They still, there's such a thirst to try to connect. And I know that you've worked at it, just like you're talking about with clubs and other ways. How do you face that when you're trying to just encourage people to connect in safe ways and remind them that this is good? Talk to me a little more about that.
Well, the biggest thing is you have to have a starting point and goals and objectives. So, one thing you may know is about some tech students, not all tech students, is they need to work on social skills. That's one thing that we're really working here at Tech. When I talk to administration, we're trying to encourage our students to learn about entrepreneurship and social ability. Because when we met with folks from Sandia Labs and other places, big companies, we were talking to them and they say, what are the skill sets that you like from our students? And our students blow them away. But if they had a little more social ability, okay, face it, I mean, no one's perfect. So if I'm lacking a certain skill, maybe I didn't have any brothers or sisters, so I'm missing things about learning about sharing my toys and my things with them. Well, now when you start interacting, you got to learn about those things. So I think it's really important to learn to engage in a way that you do it either face-to-face, where you get socialization, or are the ways to do things, and clubs, organizations are a great way to do that. Okay, if that doesn't work, how do you work with group management? If you are with a club, if you have group assignment, how do you do group dynamics? Am I always going to be the boss because I have a title? Oh, Dave, you got a title. Well, who's going to lead the meeting? Or is it because we all respect Sarah and what she does that we're going to follow her? But Tori has some great ideas. Are we giving her a chance to engage and take a leadership role? So through situational leadership, we all are becoming leaders and we all work for each other. And so it's those type of things that our students can learn from clubs, organizations, and even, I know when I was
Government,
teaching, yeah, we would
student
have,
government,
yeah,
we talked with Christine last week from Student Affairs, and one of the things we talked about with her that we thought was the greatest was the uh, the etiquette dinner. How easy, and when you think about it, if a lot of family time has been eaten up by other things, so you're not even used to eating at dinner and being with people anymore. I mean, our generation had a little more of that, but that etiquette dinner was really a hit because of social skills, because of the ability to interact in those ways. So, and uh, I do think that tech is giving opportunity for that. So,
yeah.
uh,
But we need to do it strategically. And just because we have COVID doesn't mean we have to stop.
no,
So just like we have tea clubs, could we turn around and sit down, have an etiquette dinner where we all learn how to eat properly? Because one thing is that, let's say you're all interviewing for a job. I'm looking for someone to do a job for me,
mhm,
and I want to interview you. Well, sometimes there's dinners involved in interviews. So let's say we have a meeting during the day, but the final closing of the deal is that night at dinner.
sure.
Drinks involved. I mean, there's a lot I can learn about the way someone eats. If you sit down and we start talking, the first thing you do is pick up salt and salt your food without even tasting it. Is that being presumptuous? Are you a type of person who can make decisions without facts? How does it, maybe enough salt already? So there are a lot of things that you can learn from watching people. I mean, I'm a big observer, okay?
Sure.
And so those are the things that tell me if you're going to fit into our culture, into our group, and what is it I'm looking for? Can you problem solve? Because I may just casually drop in a problem we're having at work. And I just want to see if you're willing to go on a limb and make a suggestion to me at a dinner,
Mhm.
or I'm giving you the opportunity, or is that what it was? So there's a lot of opportunities in knowing about what happens at a dinner table, what is considered proper discussions.
Sure.
Do you know what the place settings are? Do you know where the forks are? And then could you turn around and eat, or are you going to shovel it all in? Or are you going to have sloppy spaghetti? What do you order?
Oh yeah, we talked about spaghetti, and we talked about salads, and we talked about I think the specific vegetable was a cherry tomato. How to eat a cherry tomato.
How to cut
And
a cherry tomato?
so what can you say? You got to figure these things
Right.
out. And so that's important.
But imagine us having a few practice meals
Mhm.
before people go out to have dinner or an interview. It's those type of things, and it's a non-stressful thing. Hey, we're all friends. I'm going to make a mistake. You may make mistakes, but this is the time to do that. That's what student government's all about. Learn about Robert's Rule. Learn about, if I disagree with what Sarah's presenting, how do I do it professionally? How not to cut her down, or how
Yeah,
to
how
be
not to
supportive.
just kill her,
Yeah,
right, Sarah?
Yeah, I'd
Okay.
appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
yeah. And so those are the things. That's why in student life, we are thinking about your holistic development. We are looking
Yeah.
for every opportunity to help a student become more holistically, every enrichment opportunity to grow and develop. So physically, spiritually, intellectually, emotionally, financially, any way possible to keep adding to your value added employee capabilities and what you can contribute to your community, to your environment, wherever you are. And so that's why people like that can do more things and have been at
Sure.
least groomed are more beneficial.
Yeah. Isaiah and Victoria, do you have anything you want to ask some questions of for Peter? I'll just keep asking him questions all hour, but what questions might you guys have?
Hmm, let me think here. For Dr. Peter, I guess. Were there any? Did you have like any like super, I don't know, like crazy or like some of your most interesting stories about like maybe working with students, or okay, maybe not students because that might be like a confidentiality issue, but um, like with clubs, like just some like the bigger things that you've done that you're super proud of getting like other clubs to do.
Well, I mean, I've worked with student clubs. I've worked with different clubs. I've worked in 20, actually, I visited about 23 countries. I worked in Saudi Arabia for 2 years. I worked in sports palaces. and worked with different people. And there's a lot of stories that will amaze you and knock your socks off. I worked with people from Aramco. So I know the oil industry and all those folks. And so there's a lot of good stories out there. Some you would tell in mixed companies, some you wouldn't. Uh,
it's part of your professionalism.
yeah. And, you know, I enjoy being around people and learning. I mean, I remember when I was working at Texas Wesleyan University in Fort Worth, we had a alumni reunion. People came back and we asked the alumni, raise your hand if you were in a student club. Hey, the people who came to that reunion, about 95% were clubs and organizations.
Sure.
If you're a Greek, if you're an athlete, it's really the people got really engaged are the ones who stay engaged, become good donors. So you make that connection. So those are good things to know. But you know what? We found out also how many people have been out of the state of Texas, or should I say out of the country of Texas. And there were students who have never been exposed to anything but their hometown and their culture without going across the border, without doing things, without engaging with diverse populations, diverse people, never had a diverse roommate, you know, or international roommate, or even an international person on their floor, or take advantage of the opportunity to learn from that person. That's the stuff that I really, Isaiah, is that I really try to take advantage. I mean, I have probably 15 or 20 people in different countries that I can go visit anytime I want. And you know what? They come and visit, or they bring their family and they use my house as a central point of bouncing off and going other places. But that's what my kids grew up around. They grew up around kids from other countries, parents. And so what a great way to enculturate people. And you learn about foods. I love foods, you can tell.
Yes.
And culture. It all is around that. So my stories are probably around food, culture. I'll tell you a quick story about experience I had when I was in Saudi Arabia.
Okay.
My background is in sports medicine. So at my facility, people worked all day, and from basically 5 o'clock until 10 o'clock, that's all I worked. And they would come in and use a sports palace. Everything in the world was in one place. Boxing, fencing, equestrian, anything you want was here, bowling alleys. And so we were teaching them how to play sports and eventually how to coach sports, how to be sports medicine, sports psychology, sports physiology, those type of things. So what happened is they always come and do these things. Well, we were in their country, and Friday is like our Sundays. You know, that's their holy day.
Yeah.
And we were in the van cruising down this big highway, 4 lanes this way, 4 lanes that way, and everything. And there was a guy in a Mercedes-Benz who was trying to fly down the road, but there were 4 cars in different lanes, and he was trying to go down the middle lane. And it was a situation where, why is this guy trying to be so persistent? Well, he's in a hurry, but there's traffic, but he kept being persistent. And so he was trying to squeeze in between our van and the car next to it, and he was really close. And so the funniest thing happened is he kept going to do this. And one of the coaches that we were with, he was from Stetson University, and he turned around and flipped the guy off. And you should see the look on this guy's, and I was sitting right behind him. I saw the look on this guy's face going, and he backed off. Ooh. And so we all had a good laugh. Hey, I can't believe you flipped the guy off. I mean, we were your age, okay? We were just out of college and working. And so we had a really good laugh. And all of a sudden he comes flying by, and he had taken off his sandal, and he flips us the sandal. He was showing
that's a big thing inside of you.
Oh yeah, he was showing us the bottom of the sandal, because you walk in nasty things, you step on nasty things. So his biggest insult, a response to being flipped off with the bird, is to flash the sandal. And and we knew what it meant. We go, oh no, he flipped us the sandal.
Yeah.
And
like that's why they like take their shoes off whenever they go in someone's home, like
exactly.
temples and stuff. So.
And so I was happening to write home to my mother that night, because I'll send her an email. I said, Ma, I got to confess, one of my friends lost it a little bit and flipped off a Saudi, and he did this. And so I had explained to her the intent of the culture, because it's just like if people are young kids and run around and mad at each other, they'll some take their shoe off and throw them at each other. It's that way of showing things. So what I've learned is you really need to know what's acceptable in different cultures. At my last school, we had a lot of international students. They would go to the bookstore and, you know, it's $10.50 for what you're buying. They would take the money, instead of giving it to the person, they set it down on the counter. And the cashiers would get a little nervous. What's the matter? And you're African American. They said, what's the matter? Are you discriminating? You think I'm dirty? What? Oh, no, no. Our culture is we don't hand things directly into your hand. We set it down, you pick it up, you put it back on the counter, I take it. That's our culture. And so you got to understand that and not make presumptions that people are doing something inappropriate. Just like when I was in Saudi Arabia, when I greet you, I shake your right hand. If I give you something, I give you with my right, I take it with my right.
Yes, it always has to be right.
Because your left hand is what you use to wipe yourself with. Do you want to take something from my left hand, knowing where that hand has been? So you don't want to insult someone. It's little things like that you need to understand, and don't jump to conclusions. And those are the stories, Isaiah, that I have lots of them, and you learn from these little itty bitty things, and you appreciate, and you know how much you don't know.
Yeah. So you're just like a big person on like putting yourself outside your comfort zone, just doing anything and everything, really.
Anything goes, good or bad. I mean, it's kind of good and bad. It has to be limits, but I don't like heights. For my graduation present, my best friend, he did some things I wanted to do. Well, his dad wanted to take him skydiving. Holy, that was way outside and I did it. And I did it, and I'll never do it again. I was scared really bad, but I did it. And I wasn't afraid to do it. But like I said, it's something that I know that if I can overcome little fears like that, you can do just about anything.
Yeah.
And I have a choice in life.
Yeah, very interesting.
Wow.
Well, thank you.
You got another one, Isaiah? Or you want to wait a moment?
I gotta be careful. This is being recorded.
Well, yes, it is. But you know, we're good about these things.
We have Katie. You have someone new on the line. Who's this? I don't think I know Katie.
Oh, Katie is one of our folks at the OSL.
Okay.
And
great.
she oversees our
Yes,
tutors.
Hey.
Sorry.
And,
Sorry, I'm dropping in a little late.
No, that's okay.
We're having a good talk with Dr. Phaiah.
Yeah.
We just had a great story. You'll have to watch the recording.
I will.
We're going to see if Isaiah had another question, or Victoria, or you. We've been enjoying the whole idea that really Dr. Phaiah's job is in the approachability business and the understanding business, and allowing people to understand perceptions, and also to seek help and things like that. So
I have a question, Peter, and you don't have to answer it, but you know, I think I would find it useful, and maybe others here too. But you're doing so much work at Tech right now with COVID, and I mean, we're getting emails from you all the time. You're up all the time. I don't know how you're still awake right now, but how do you take care of yourself during this time? How are you practicing what you're preaching to all of us? You know, how are you making sure that you're okay?
You gotta get your priorities straight. And usually I have to have a good understanding of what my staff has capabilities of doing, and I try to fill in where I can. Luckily, most of their jobs I've done it, so I can always help them. And I know I need to know when to ask for help. Okay. It's not, I mean, by me asking for support to do something, or for testing, or for anything we do, it's not a weakness. It's knowing how to utilize the resources around you and setting priorities. And, you know, sometimes, I lack sleep. Sometimes my exercise and my weight kick in when I don't do the things I should be doing. But I'm hoping and praying it's a short-term thing. Unfortunately, sometimes it gets stretched out, and anybody can do anything and tolerate anything for a certain amount of time. I mean, we are pretty indestructible to a point, and we need to know our limitations. So if you can stay within those parameters, I think you can get things done. I'm motivated because if I can keep our students in the campus healthy, that's less work for me later on. If I do more work with training, education, and awareness, I don't have to deal with the repercussions of people not doing the right thing. So it is using your time and energy effectively, and do those things. Plus, I ask my boss what he wants, and that's what I do. Always cover your backside with your boss, who makes the decisions, who hires and fires. Then you work backwards and you serve the population, because I work for the students. Okay. I really work for President Wells and the students. and hopefully have a good understanding what they're needing. But once again, I'm in a whole different generation from our students. So
Mhm.
I need to have student workers, I need mentors, I need RAs, I need those people to help keep me abreast of what's going on so I can make smarter decisions. Just like, we turned around and having this thing on some type of incentive to get more people to get tested.
Mhm.
I'm not quite sure what students would be motivated by. A PlayStation 5, an Xbox X, money? I mean, what would keep you motivated to help do the right thing? Some people have intrinsic motivation to do it. Some people need a little extrinsic motivation.
Mhm.
And that's what we do. And I can't assume I know everything about our students. I want to learn. So to answer your questions, that is how I try to do it. And I do have, when I go to bed at night, I just crash hard because I need sleep. And
Mhm.
then I'm glad it's not being, it's being recorded, but if I go to sleep, I stay asleep, but I have about a 5.5, 6 hour bladder and I get up. But once I'm up, my mind doesn't stop. So once I
Our
get up,
bodies are just teaching us things. That's all
yeah.
they're doing.
So 4:30, 5 o'clock is in the morning is when I get most of my work done. I used to be nocturnal when I was working on my PhD. I
Mhm.
would come home from work, 5:36, spend time with my family, take a combat nap, get up at 7, stay up to 2, and then get up and teach the next morning. So
Mhm.
Wow.
that's life sometimes.
Mhm. Other questions? It's your chance.
I have a question. I'm not sure if you can answer this, Dr. Phaiah. It's more of not a personal question, but I think it would benefit me more than it would benefit Isaiah, but I'm sure other people are going to want to know. I don't know if you all have started discussing what's going to happen for graduation this year.
Yeah.
Not sure if you're the one to ask or who's the one to ask, but I know a lot of people are kind of curious on what's going to happen for graduation, especially since you all have more time to plan it and put it together for us.
Well, Tori, are you going to be a senior this year?
I am. I graduate in May.
Okay. Well,
So it's
first of all-
important.
Yes,
well,
it's
first of all,
important.
don't rely on us to have the best possible commencement. What I mean by that is, what are you, student government, how are you moving the agenda along the way that you think your peers would want it? Okay. Last year, when this all hit the fan, the registrar's office was in charge of commencement. Why they're doing that at the busiest time of the year? And so I volunteered to help with commencement last year. I mean, I probably have worked over 30 to 40 commencements. I've been at schools we have commencement after the fall and after the spring. My office is actively involved, or I provided support. So when the commencement came around this past year, we were only dealing with a little bit of COVID and we weren't sure what it was, not many infected people. So we were making every possible plan to have face-to-face commencements. We knew we couldn't have large groups. So our initial plan was to have about 6 to 8, maybe 10 smaller ones by departments, by undergraduate graduates, what made sense, and then connect them all through some type of teleconferencing. Or I've been at some schools, graduates are in the morning and undergraduates in the afternoon. You got the platform party, you got the Board of Regents already there. So how could you leverage that? What we were thinking is, before we had completed this bandit, I wasn't really happy about it, but we did it. I had planned, and still have it in plans, if you want to take a look at it and help us fine tune it, how to have about 6 to 8 different sessions, having members of the Board of Regents, instead of the platform party having 15 people, we'll put 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, and 3 at different venues. And then when someone's reading off the names or someone is doing something, it's being telecast to each. But now when it's time to acknowledge the students who are EE or by undergraduate or whatever, well, then let them have their own little ceremony. And so you have a common procession, president's speech, valedictorian, all that stuff can be common, and then turn around, and then to make it even shorter, then you break it up and you come back together for the final procession. There are a lot of cool ways of doing that. There are companies out there who want to charge $60,000 a year to give you the best possible
Yes.
commencement with all the bling, all these keepsakes, all these different pomp and circumstance. We can do that. But if you're still there, what do you want? Okay. And so you have to understand, what are the rules of engagement? How many people can we have? What's permissible? and then how do we do it safely, and how to give you the best experience. So,
What are you interested in, Victoria?
yeah.
I don't know. Since I'm from El Paso, so they had a lot of different commencements going on, like for the high schools and stuff like that. And a lot of what they were able to do that I thought might be possible to do here at Tech, just because we're such a small university, is that they had the students, I mean, all of us are here anyways on campus and we're getting tested all the time. They had the students actually walk the stage and everything like that. But they live streamed it. So there was no crowd, there was no family, but the students were able to walk across and their name was called and everything like that. And they were able to do that with like the high schools that have about 300 students. And of course, I think in El Paso, their protocols and the people, they travel more and the city is just so big. I think we're a lot more safer here in Socorro than in El Paso, big time. But that was just one of like my ideas that I had of like a possibility. I know just because there's about 500 students total right now on campus. And for the students that are not on campus that are graduating, I'm sure it would be kind of hard for them to travel to Tech, and that's where it would get a little bit
Well, we have about 1,275 students who are taking classes on campus in one way or the other.
Oh, really?
Either living in the halls, because last semester we had 600, we're down just a little bit, and then the rest live in the community, or they live in Albuquerque and come down 1 or 2 days a week. So we do have, because I know that because that's how many lanyards we gave out. So I think you're on the right track, but I think your voice is important. But to give you more information, this year, President Wells has put advancement, the Alumni Advancement Office, they are now tasked for commencement. And I've been asked to be on the team to help and do those things. But I think student government, clubs and organizations help them. And because if they know what you want to make you happy, that's a good place to start rather than assuming or guessing. And so I think getting involved now. Last year, before I took over the duty as acting vice president, I was talking to Melissa Harmeal about creating a commencement fair. So have the ring companies, have the cap and gown, all one-stop shop for maybe a day or two, where you can come in and learn everything you need. What can you do? Look at your different attire, and also do exit interviews that are required. You can do those things about jobs. And so there's a lot of little things that can be done, and we could, treat you nice. We have different opportunities that if you attend it and go to school here. So there was those type of things that a lot of schools do. We were about ready to implement that, but then COVID hit. And then I focused more on commencement and then 3 or 4 variations. Just like when we have normal commencement, we plan for an indoor and an outdoor. Hopefully the weather's nice, but that takes a lot of planning. And so let's see what you all want to do. Let's plan ahead and let's keep our, focus on we're going to do it live. Now, what that looks like could be a whole variety of things, but we're going to have a commencement ceremony on campus with maybe multi-venues or just one venue with students only. If it's outside, we can socially distance. You can have masks on, but because you're going to be separate and walking upstairs, walking across the stage, maybe you can have your mask down and then get a picture taken. Maybe President Wells keeps his mask on. I mean, some combination, we can do it. You just got to know what are the rules of engagement, what the governor allows us to do. We hope things improve. So we go from red to yellow to green. I don't know if you know this. If it wasn't for New Mexico Tech, we probably wouldn't be yellow in our county.
Yeah.
Because of the students, we took pretty close to 1,500 students who, and only 2 people were tested positive. One went home, one stayed locally. And out of that number of people who were positive, what a great number. It diluted the number. So it got us into the yellow. We hope we stay there. But don't forget, a lot of faculty and staff got tested before they went back to work. Nobody was positive. So the county should be very happy with our school, the things we do. So we're hoping to keep going for another 2 weeks and then get the momentum on campus, get a culture, get the community to jump in, and keep us yellow or green. So there's less restrictions when it comes May. More people get vaccinations. What does a vaccination mean? So tomorrow we have a meeting with the governor's office to let us know if our students from out of state get a vaccine, do they have to quarantine for 2 weeks? Or if we have summer classes or fall classes next year, can we turn around and get more people into a class, more interaction? If we have a combination of vaccines, what does a vaccine mean? So we are trying to learn all those things and how it will bring campus life closer to our normal. Now, it may never be the real original normal, but what's that new norm that is permissible for commencement ceremony?
Sure. I know I got my first shot vaccine yesterday.
Well, good for you. That's great.
Yeah. So they're doing it. They're going through their lists. You register, you go through it. So it's the processes are important. And
Well, they had a first process and it looked really good. And I think that would work. But what happens is too many other conservative interests and people want to do things. And because we had it planned out with the state, with
Yeah.
Pfizer, Moderna. I was in all the meetings on distribution for the state, and tech was going to be a central location with our.
Yeah.
So we have all that ready. We still can do that. But what's happening now is they just released, I think, several million doses to pharmacies, CVS,
yes, I
Walgreens.
saw that.
And so what happens is that any person basically can try to go there, but now you got to pay a little more. You got to pay a premium. If you want it free and have your insurance pay for it, or the county or state pay for it, then you got to wait until they do the big massive things.
Right.
But you want to do that. Like, for instance, my daughter's getting married in Germany, July 4th. And
Ooh.
so I'm waiting, but I'm going to have to get a vaccine before I leave,
Sure.
at least 2 to 3 weeks prior, because then the German government will allow me to enter without quarantining for 2 weeks.
Right.
I'll be tested
Right.
before I leave, tested when I get there, and tested when I return. But that vaccine isn't giving me a lot more flexibility
Yeah.
and freedom than without it. So we hope in around commencement time, with more vaccines, we can do that. Because I'm trying to
Sure.
plan right now. I have a phone call on Friday with Presbyterian Hospital about student vaccinations.
Cool.
Okay. I mean, we do student flu shots, right? And Presbyterian Hospital is our partner who runs our health center. So my question to them is, what can you do to vaccinate our students? I use the word my students, I'm possessive, our students. And so they're coming back with a plan to see how to do that. Now, I guarantee you, some students have already had it. Some students may not want it. Okay, so our numbers are getting more manageable.
Yeah.
And do we plan it in a 1 or 2 day thing? Do we do it before spring break or that time frame or after? But the sooner we can get it done, we can do that.
Sure.
Because one of the questions is, should we make it mandatory that everyone has a vaccination before they return next fall? I don't know if we want to go there.
That's a big question. Yeah.
But if students feel that that would make them feel more comfortable, more students would return under those conditions. More parents would let their children come back under those conditions. But people may not want to be vaccinated.
It's true. I mean, I went to Socorro Health, that's where I go get, the health center. And so I was on that first sets of lists. But when you're talking at the numbers we're talking, that's quite an ambitious program. So I hope you have a good conversation with them on Friday.
But what they're also saying is, just because you have vaccination doesn't mean you can't be a spreader.
That's true.
I mean, you may not get it, but if you were to get it, you now have the symptoms, or your symptoms will be less. They're not sure yet. They think they trying to, use comparisons, transfer information from the regular flu and everything else. But I think we're still gonna be wearing masks,
Yep.
but we can get more people closer together. It's just gonna protect and break down any droplets or vapor that are out there by knocking it down. And so
Sure.
6 foot is questionable. 10 and 12 and 15 are more reasonable. Well, how do you now turn around and say, I've been vaccinated and I'm wearing a mask? Is it safe for us to have a club meeting? Is
Sure.
it safe for us to have commencement? It's safer. We've tried to mitigate the risk as much as possible.
Well, it's the same thing we face, of course, with having our tutorial centers now all online. And when will we be able to, use our space in a different way? Because certainly we've got great tutors and we've got those wonderful glass top tables and all sorts of things, but we have to follow what the governor tells us, of course, which is appropriate. Same thing for the library. Same thing for classes. You know, I know we've been very good at following directions, and I've been very glad that there's been administrators who have worked hard to make sure those directions become real in practice. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
So
I think the students can be very proud because last semester, we did not have any breakouts anywhere. There's no case on campus that spread. We had people from outside of campus, people go home for the weekend, bring things to campus, but we nipped it off in the bud. We took the proper precautions, and people, even though it sucked, excuse my language, to go in quarantine, whatever, we did the right thing, and we were as safe as we could be. We did this testing. It was a pain in the butt for us, but also students didn't want to have to be tested to come back to campus. But you know what? Out of all the students we tested, we identified two. But also, we had about 6 or 7 students who got COVID over the break between Thanksgiving and Christmas. So we had to work with them to make sure they were safe. And you know what? The state made us count them as our students, and we had to put them in our numbers until they were clear. And then we make them from active to inactive, and then we're good to go. So
sure.
right now we have no active cases on campus, or we had no active cases. We had one little breakout on Monday that we're dealing with, but our protocol says that our classrooms that do not exceed 30 students, that are socially distanced, that are wearing masks, that have air filtration systems, it reduces the chance and spread as much as possible. So all the students in that class that were potentially exposed to that one individual, no one has to quarantine. Now, we recommend they be tested, but they don't need to be quarantined. If that happened into a lab, because there's greater interaction, people getting
Right.
close together, we have to require those people to do a 14-day quarantine. So the rules have changed a little bit. We're learning, and we're trying to implement it while still trying to keep people sane.
Hmm. Well, we're doing it, which is
Yes.
the important thing. You bet. Other questions from anybody? I've got 12 minutes left of our moment of having Dr. Phaiah, and if you got some questions, please feel free to ask them. So
I was a little bit curious. So I noticed the other week that they sent out an email about how you guys are allowing people who have to be quarantined to like have a little bit of outside time. Did you have any hand in that or no?
Yeah. Some people, I mean, like I said, this all hit at once. And in the
Right.
spring, we were, I think, too rigid. You got to quarantine for the amount of time you got to stay in your room. Well, just think, if you are a commuter living in a community and you have to self-quarantine, or you got to stay in your house, you can walk about your house. You can go outside in the backyard. You can still get out and get some, even if you're in prison, you get yard time. So using the same rationale, I know, I didn't mean to make that cross.
Sure, it's like,
Um,
you
so-
guys
Okay, we
are
don't
all
really feel like
cracking
it
up.
is until we have to quarantine, and then it's over.
Yeah. So what we're looking at is for the students' well-being and their mental health, you got to be able to get out and stretch your legs. So it's our interpretation of what does self-isolation mean. Just stay away from people. Still wear a mask. We just make social distancing bigger. So the residence halls we're looking at in rotations, having buildings, having a supervisor, and then the 3, 4, 5 students, or 1 or 2 in the building, be able to go out to certain locations. Now, here's where confidentiality comes in. Okay, everybody in quarantine is going out at 3 o'clock. So now you watch out who's going outside at 3 o'clock. Are you
Oh,
not
yeah.
disclosing medical health issues? Well, no, we're just saying they're quarantining. We're not saying who's positive, who's negative. There's a lot of students that get quarantined out of no fault of theirs, and they got to go through the steps. So yes, Isaiah, we are looking at giving the quarantine. If students, and actually last at the end of spring after we came back, we were doing it, and we were only getting 2, 3 people who were doing it coming out. So a real small percentage. We were spending planning, organizations, emails, and then having students monitor it and not make people take us up on it. So we were more proactive. Okay. Once again, it really bad to have to go into quarantine, but here's what we can do to increase that experience as much as possible. You know, maybe you can do gaming, or you can do something at a distance. So how creative do you want to be if you're outside? You know, do we bring in pets? Do we do other little things? But as long as you don't socialize with other people, how come you can't go on the athletic field? How come you can't go jogging around the field?
Sure.
Who's at risk? You know, and if if I tell you, if you're quarantined, we take you out, we don't need to tell other people what you're doing. But if someone approaches you, even though it's a best friend, just tell them, hey, now I'm quarantined. I can't really be close to you, and just go about your business. That's on you. That's accountability and responsibility for you, not to contaminate your friends or get them infected. So it's kind of a compromise, and it is a community effort. Sure, it's simple to say you can't leave your room. So that's where some students asked, and they said, why can't we? I go, why can't you? Help us come up with a plan. We did it. If you want to make it bigger or bigger or bigger, let us know. Do we do it twice a week or a couple times? So maybe even though you're in quarantine, Isaiah, you're going to be the lead person in charge. Okay? You're going to help oversee and make sure things run smoothly and ask questions. You're the guy for this shift. And then it goes to Katie or someone else. So the situation is, what's your accountability and how you can help us make it a better experience for everyone?
Sounds wise and sounds good.
Yeah, I guess I kind of also just wanted to say, like from all the students, like from all my friends that I talked to about that, like they all really, really like that. So well done, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, the thing we're trying to get over is, if in fact you live in community bathroom area building and someone is positive there, does everyone have to go in quarantine? We're trying to look at that, but our policy says that yes, everyone has to quarantine, because we believe that there's more contact or contamination through the vapor and through the droplets and aerosols, not so much the contact. We do a good job at cleaning, disinfecting, but you know what? If I was in a community bathroom and I had other people, I would make sure I would clean and disinfect. I would wear my mask. I would shower, do what I got to do, and don't hang out there. And then when people come, they should clean, or maybe when they're done, they should do that. You would assume everyone will do that, especially if the products are readily available at their disposal. Okay. All that helps mitigate the liability, and that's worth the investment to do that. And then if in fact we did have somebody who was positive, we can look at that and say, it's not going to happen. But by Friday of this week, or maybe early next week, Tech has developed a tracing app. State was working on it. We got the ability to use it. We were going to implement it, but it just wasn't meeting our needs with security and stuff like that. So we ran it through cybersecurity. We ran through everything else. And it is geofencing. It's only going to track our students and our employees on campus. So if there is a breakout in a laboratory and the 6 of us are there, and let's say I become positive and I have the app, we can turn around and see who came within 6 feet of me for more than 3 minutes. And you can tag those people. And David, you didn't go to class that day. You blew it off. Okay, you don't have to go in quarantine.
What
Isaiah,
a good choice. Yeah.
Isaiah, you just passed me. And so we know that there's very brief contact, because we look at density, time and duration, and closeness and proximity. Those are the variables, and that's what this thing will do. And so what will happen is we're going to encourage all of our students to have it, because if there is a possible outbreak and we can validate, say that you did not come into proximity, you don't have to quarantine. Now, we recommend you get tested, but you don't have to quarantine for the 14 days. But those people in the class or the lab who didn't have the app, and we can't say for certainty whether there was a contact or not, they have to sit out for 14 days. Now, I think that's a good enough incentive to get it. Now,
Right.
it turns off when you leave campus. It doesn't track you where you're going. Hey, you go to someone's house. I'm at my girlfriend's house at 3 a.m. It doesn't do that. That's not the intent. Okay, it's not Big Brother watching. So we didn't want it to be really invasive, or invade your privacy. And so we hope people will use it, because it'll help us tremendously. Plus, also, if you sign up for it and use it, your name enters a drawing as well. So we're just trying to get that extrinsic motivation again. Besides you doing the right thing, here's some extra motivation.
Just out of curiosity, but do you know if, like you were just mentioning about the security thing, do you know if it would be possible to just geofence within the school buildings, like the lab buildings and stuff?
Yeah, anything's possible. The people who write the apps can control the geofence. So we have the perimeter of campus right now in that app. If a department wanted to reduce it for their building, MSAC, or the library, I'm sure that can be done, but this thing has the ability to do the whole building.
Mhm.
I mean, the whole campus. So technically we could do that and work from there, and hopefully people will utilize it. But
I was just curious, because
it's been vetted, and so it's ready to go. And we have it approved to go into the the Apple Store as well as the Android store. That was what's a little delay. But then on top of that, we think we're going to get so fine tuned, we're going to offer it up free to other campuses in New Mexico because it
Cool.
has gone through its rigors. It's probably one of the best in the country. ICASA has been working with our students and in cybersecurity. So actually, we should be proud of something we pulled together for the right
Sure.
reasons. And some
Yeah.
experience, and they can turn around and said, I helped develop this app, put it on their resume, and hey, run with that as far as you can.
I think, well, Katie's here too, but I'm thinking that as we bridge to more possibilities for maybe in-person tutoring, things like that app will be very important. You know what I'm saying? Things like that where, right now we've had to go to the drastic nature, as you know, of reserving places at the library and online things, all that. This app could allow for more freedom and more responsibility.
Yeah,
So,
people forget because, like, I know one student who was positive last semester, one of our first people, we knew everyone he came in contact, we contacted him. He says, that's all I did. And then a day later, he goes, oh crap, I forgot. I went to the gym and worked out at 7 o'clock in the morning. That means I had to go to the gym. I had to get the roster of everyone who went there between this hour and this hour. And it would have been great if he had his app on because
sure.
maybe I'm working out in one room and you guys are in another room, not even coming in contact with me. Or yes, we passed, but not enough to consider it a close contact.
Mhm.
Now, we will notify you that someone at that time tested positive, but based upon what we're looking at, we don't believe there's close contact, but we do recommend you get tested. That's what we did in that class today, you know?
Super.
So that would be a great application for that. If you're in labs, clubs, organizations, commencement, everyone, in order to go to commencement, Tori, are you willing to get this app to go through? And that way, if there were an outbreak, we can quickly go and identify who was there. Why do you think stores have people sign in when they go in? Because if there's an issue, they know who was there at what time. That's the best they can do. We have an
Mhm.
app that can be doing this.
It's a great concept.
Yeah, I think that's something that you guys should promote more because I know a lot of people were like iffy about getting the app last semester because they didn't want, like, they just thought the school's gonna be tracking us all the time, and there was just some like concerns about it. But I mean, the way you're explaining it now, it sounds like it's like if it's just on campus and for when we're there in classes and stuff like that, that seems super useful. That way we can just keep things under control and stuff like that.
Yeah, they're working on a video, a PR. So to clearly explain to you, because if we want to encourage you to get it, we have to be transparent. We have to give you all the facts, all the details, what it can, what it can't do, and what are the risks, and
Sure.
be honest. But we encourage you to do so. Please do the right thing. Well, I don't have a cell phone. Okay, well, maybe we can find some other way of doing that with that person. So those are the things that we can look at. But once again, having students look at it, we want student government to review it, see what they have any issues with, but get it done as fast as possible because we want to get it out there. Because when we had this incident today, we know it's possible. People go home on the weekends, they come back. The person who was positive went home last weekend, hung out with his girlfriend, and
Young
came back to
love.
campus. And before didn't have symptoms, but not until that evening after one day of class. But good thing the person was only in one class. So we had to then do our contact tracing,
Sure.
and we reached out and we did our due diligence. The state does not have time to do that. So we have to do their job for them, but it's for our benefit to do that.
Helps us all here, that's for sure. We're almost done, but I want to ask you just a fun question so you can have a fun question. All right. You've been here a few years, just like I've been here almost 4 now. I'm wondering, what's your favorite tech event? Okay, this is a fun question.
Well, I wish they had more for employees, faculty and staff. At my last school, we did a lot of intramurals, a lot of stuff like that. That was a lot of fun.
Right.
I like to engage with the students. So going to student events or events that are faculty, staff, student type events are great. I like the 49ers event. That's an easy one to say, but I did enjoy that. I enjoy when they have the outdoor activities and events. I love when students come with their friends, significant others, their families, their kids, and then they get the faculty and staff and their families because you could see, hey, I have a family. I'm hopefully a regular person, and you don't need to know me as the guy in charge of student conduct and discipline, or, hey, here's your professor, they got that PhD and you think all this, but hey, that guy's got kids and their kids are brats, and
To
they're
someone,
normal.
they're just dad,
Yeah.
So it is those type of events. And anytime at a college when I can get incoming students, recruits, current students, and alumni at one event, that's my favorite events, because you can see the people excited. The people who love to be here when they were here, that's why they're back. The people who are here, they're still here because they enjoy it. And the people who may want to come. And so when you have three generations of techies in one place, that's pretty cool.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
Dr. Phaiah, we thank you for taking the time. We got you recorded so we can put you in our groups. I think Isaiah and Victoria are having a good time listening to you, as well as the rest of us. So
Thanks for hosting us.
yeah,
Well,
we
just
are
like
going
to
to
say
have
one
this
thing.
again
For the
next week
people-
at 4:00. So if
Okay.
you guys are interested in coming, please do. And we'll have information up on the big TVs and certainly on the Facebook for the library and the OSL and other places that we can try to find a way to get the information out. So thank you again, Dr. Phaiah, and we appreciate you being with us.
My pleasure. Be safe.
Okay. Take care, everyone. We'll see you again
Everybody.
next week, hopefully. All
Bye,
right.
guys.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye, all.